So last night in my dream, I went to the planet Mercury. At one point there was a kitchen that was very like cobalt blue. Um, it was even very techno as well. Um, there's a big segment of the dream. There was this like Islamic paradise, and I thought that was. Now I'm realizing how weird that is, being a dream about the planet Mercury. Um, and basically these ugly men had these like really beautiful wives, and I don't know what the point of that was. It's very interesting though. Also, at one point, I was in Mr. Holloway's class. I was in the same classroom. It was a very small room, which seemed to be a theme. Is that there's these common spaces that were huge, and then there's these tiny little segmented rooms. And I wonder what that's saying about the planet Mercury. But anyways, I was in this English teacher's class from high school, and so I was talking to someone, and I was sort of, I remember the dream started out, this guy was like a bully or something. It was actually really interesting because, at the beginning of the dream, I felt very like afraid of him, but I didn't know who he was or anything. It was just part of the dream, right? It was the weirdest thing though. He looked like, I wanted to say Archie, but it's not Archie. It's the name like Buddy Holly comes to mind. That's probably the closest I'm gonna get. He was this redhead with these big dimples, but he had this really bright, warm smile. But he would be like bullying me and other people, and I kind of found it hilarious because he was so cute, but he was being like a bully, basically. And so I was making fun of him on these premises, and it sort of turned the situation around, which I think is a picture of Mercury being, in the Puranas, Mercury is an androgynous being, so a little bit the gender bending properties, sort of the homosexual connection of Mercury, and also sort of just the way that through mercurial powers that like a situation even can be alchemized. So it was a very clear picture of that. And then the teacher called everyone in and was quickly to work, and I was like 10 seconds too late to start something. Yeah, so I was making fun of this kid. I was like, you're so cute, but you're bullying people. That's really funny. I was telling him all these things that make him look more like the star on like Little Rascals or something. I don't know. As is a bunch of really clever things, which I can't remember even. That happens a lot in dreams for me, and especially being on the planet Mercury, it's not surprising at all. Yeah. So, anyways, the teacher calls us in, and the teacher kind of created a situation where it's like, oh, you weren't, sitting in your chair learning, so, as if to punish me. Because it was one of those situations where I missed out on the first 10 seconds of, work on some little thing, and it was already too late. And, so, it was just writing something really, kind of dumb. But I felt a little bit like I was in a scenario where, you know, like the teacher's gonna be really anal about you doing things the right way, and it's just gonna be more comfortable to just take a bad grade than to like try and struggle with, whatever the teacher's bizarre expectations might be. Like when a teacher's trying to trap you, basically. I haven't had much experience with this in school, but I think some people have, and I think it's really interesting that this sort of um, that this came up in this stream, even though I never really experienced it in this particular way. So then, they were gonna go and weirdly enough, they're gonna go make pizzas, and so that was gonna be like the class activity. For some reason. Because the first task, we were supposed to write something with highlighter. We're supposed to take this really bizarre, grammatically terrible sentence and just write a simple point with it, and with do it with highlighter. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. This is stupid. Perhaps in that case, it's willing towards complication, towards that mercurial alchemy, that mercurial sort of confusion. So I wonder if that was some kind of cosmic test. And then after that, of course they went and they did the pizzas, and one student was very concerned about me and came to me, and he said he was going to give me one of his cooked pieces of pizza, because I got the cold ingredients, but I just didn't. I felt like it was yet another trap to go down to the place to get it cooked with them, because I hadn't completed the previous assignment and I didn't want to. So a part of me was like, oh, I can just finish this. And I started writing, and I'm like, you know what though, the time has passed for me to actually do this assignment. Now it's the other assignment, but he said something about like to do them, in a row. So I just didn't go. And then I just had this cold pizza, and this other student, the ingredients basically for 2 slices. It was really bizarre. And then another student came, and he gave me he gave me 2 pieces, and I was like, no, he'll figure it out, and I gave him back, and he was like, no, you need him. I said, no, he'll figure it out. It's basically a trap. So then we sat back down, and the class just ended like nothing, and then afterwards, so everyone left. And then I was walking around through different hallways and stuff, and then I came back, and it was like a small party, but it was a pretty fun party, and I was having a party with these people. I wouldn't say partying exactly; it was more like dinner party vibes. But I asked. Mr. Holloway was there, the teacher was there, he was looking at me really smugly, and I was like, was that a test? He's like, yes, that was a test, and you passed. I was like, okay. Dream logic, man. So, perhaps this is some, authority related to Mercury, and, in fact, was some kind of cosmic test, or not. Maybe Mercury is just a really insane planet where they like to mess with you. Wouldn't be surprised. So I think this is my first experience. Can't think of any others in the past that I went to Mercury that I just didn't know or something. The part with the part of there being like a Muslim society there in the dream was really interesting. I don't know. Maybe even the wandering stars have civilizations on them. I don't know. Like more than one. Vedically, they have at least one, right? But maybe I've often wondered if they have more than one. So then, in a dream that was just previous to this, I was walking around it. It was like this, you know, it was like this dungeon, but it was almost more like video game style than like, what you'd see in Lord of the Rings or whatever in the movie. But it was more done up than that. It was more like intentionally, like it looked like a completely realized facility. It wasn't just, some rocks hanging there or whatever. So I'm walking around this place. It kind of reminded me of Dark Souls a little bit, but it was more like I want to say Egyptian just because of the thick pillars that were everywhere. But I wouldn't. It was a very different like architecture, so it's hard to say. Giant pillars, strewn every so often, and then a lot of circular and cylindrical shapes everywhere in the architecture. So, that's bringing up more memories of the place, of me just wandering around this place in different lightings. I think there was maybe a slight blue light there too, which maybe makes me wonder, because I think Mercury is blue in Western. I've always leaned on the Eastern correspondences, but that's interesting that it's sort of blue and green at least. Anyways, so I'm walking around. I think I saw some different things going on. I think I may have even seen some Cobra people, some Naga. And then I see this dude, and he's standing there, and Astroth whispers in my ear. I think it's Astroth. He's may have been Stolas or something, but I got one of my spirits said in my ear. He said, "That's the king of the Naga," and I could see his energy body. And it was a really nasty Cobra guy. And so he's like staring daggers at me basically. I mean, very intensely, not angrily really. And he starts walking towards me, and I said, I told him to stop, but he just kept advancing. So I said, in the name of Vasuki, I command you to go. And he stopped, and I said it a few more times, and he left. So this is that's invocation. Perhaps if I had invoked, Jesus Christ, in the name of Christ I command you, the way people do exorcisms. So what an exorcist is doing is they're invoking the power of Jesus Christ, and they're getting rid of demons. That doesn't always work. Christians and Christian occultists would like to think that Christ's power is a cure-all for every little thing, and it's simply not. There's just simply some powers which don't really, are not really completely under the dominion of Jesus Christ. Perhaps something just hasn't been open to me on that front, but, like for example, I think I tried to invoke Christ against the Greys and it didn't work. Might as well try things, right? I've actually performed an exorcism with the name of Christ before. I think in that case it was Baal that was exorcised, that I ended up mainly needing to exorcise. So, yeah. But of course, it's also not a permanent fix. You have to basically change your energy body, close certain doors and whatnot. And it's not as simple as just, stop drinking. Okay, drinking might be the gaping, hole in the side of the ship, but stopping drinking doesn't necessarily close it, or not all that quick. Anyways, invoking Vasuki, who is one of the highest of the Naga. I don't know if the Naga King needed to actually leave at that point, or if it was more out of respect. If he was compelled to leave against his will, or if it was kind of like, okay, now you've invoked this being, so, yeah, there's some, I think I've gotten the sense a lot of times there's etiquette to it more than it being like, invoking the name, like, because I think my point of reference for this is exorcisms, right? You invoke the name of Christ and the demons just run away. And this isn't always the case, though. Sometimes, because I've noticed sometimes when I, invoke Shiva by name or someone else, a lot of times there's not that fear from other beings, especially other beings that are essentially angelic or semi-divine, as the Naga are. There's a lot more of a respectful, okay, I'll respect the rules here, but I feel like they don't need to, but they're going to, because it's the system. I don't know. They're pretty, angels are pretty rulesy, I guess, something like that. And after the dream, I asked Astaroth if I shouldn't have, basically told him to leave. And Astaroth said, no, you did the right thing. So, all right. You never know. I mean, because I did it seemed like he was from the planet of the Naga, not from the Black Naga that lived on Earth. According to Katesh, the Naga come from like the constellation Hydra, or whatever. Yeah, it's Hydra. It's something like Hydra. Yeah, and Yogananda Paramahansa also Sri M talked about how Babaji Mahavatar would talk to Naga from another planet, and Yogananda Paramahansa also wrote about aliens a bit. These were both disciples of Babaji Mahavatar. Supposedly Sri M was like a direct disciple, and Yogananda Paramahansa was like, Babaji was like his three times great grandmaster, or great master, however you say it. Disciplic successions. So yeah. Anyways, the Mercury is the ruling planet over the Naga, so I supposed that the Naga were able to come and see me because I was on Mercury. I kind of wondered if the planet was inhabited by Naga in general. I haven't seen evidence of that, though. I'll bet you, though, I was in this place with this bizarre architecture, because it kind of, it kind of reminded me of Tulsa Doom, I think his name is, the villain in that. Like his place looked a lot like that. So, but of course it was like massively extrapolated from that. Or, probably a real location. Like, once I had a dream of this facility, and then I saw it through remote viewing later, and heard about it, and anyways. So there's some other parts of this dream I'm forgetting. Let's see. I covered. I think that's all I remember. I remember going up and down some stairs. More of it's coming back a bit. It was weird. It was like a lot of it was like as if a school. There's some of it was like this Arabic palace, and then there's this part with the Naga. Yeah, who knows? Maybe there's like 3 civilizations on Mercury, and I got a taste of all of them. Been wanting to visit Mercury in my dreams forever. Which brings me to another thing I wanted to talk about: cleaning out my liver. So, I just recently learned that the liver is like the psychic battery of the body, and mine has been, not functioning super well. Like if I used to eat vitamin gummies, um, back when I lived in U.S., and I would get a pain in my liver, so I would only eat like 1 gummy instead of the directed 2 on the bottle, and I would feel okay. And I thought it was like, oh, I'm pretty thin, maybe as far as uh, maybe there's just not enough of me to handle 2. It's too much for a guy of my size. I don't weigh enough, something like that. It didn't really make sense because I'm thin, but I'm not, not like a tiny dude or something. I'm pretty average, relatively, maybe a bit below average sized, I'm not like 50%, or I'm not like, 50% of the average person my age. So I had a lot of things like that. Or if I drink too much, if I drink like 2 shots in a day, then the next day I drink 2 shots, and the next day I drink a shot or 2, I'll also get pain in my liver, which just really isn't that much alcohol. I think I may have already told this story, but basically I yogically relaxed my, some of the vertebrae of my spine based on some of those things that Yogananda Paramahansa talked about, the occult centers of the spine. Yeah, I figured out how to do it finally, and I felt really ill after that because it like released my liver and released a bunch of I don't know, I'm guessing it released a lot of poisons from the liver into my bloodstream, and so I've been focusing on the liver and doing a lot of energy work to manipulate the liver, exercises, drinking lemon waters, and it's working. I feel way better. But I think it seems like okay. So I just released the vertebrae. That did a lot. But it took a few days, and of course I was tinkering with, visualizations and stuff in the meantime. A few days later, I felt a huge wave of anxiety just ripple out from my liver, basically. And it turns out that, 2 decades of anxieties and trauma and whatnot were just trapped in my liver. And I cleaned them out, basically. Also, sort of like deep breathing, nervous system healing type stuff. All of it more healing myself in esoteric ways more than anything else. But I think this is why I was able to visit the planet Mercury. Okay, it's not that far. I already visited the sun before I did any of this, but I felt that there was something heavier about getting to Mercury, and I think that basically having more capacity in my energy body because of having my liver clean enabled me to go to Mercury. I feel that that's the case, because I don't think I've ever been there before in my dreams. Mostly in my dreams I was in Bardo and just rarely ever went to the sun. I've been to the sun like a few times. In fact, very early in my journey, when I was in California, I had a dream where I climbed out of Bardo and I went to Summerland. it was like it also I understood it was a higher level of my consciousness. So there's a little bit of this dream dream logic dissolution of like levels of consciousness and also planets, which Plato talks about this, how the universe is structured the same way as the human soul. Which, who knows what we're even talking about when we're talking about, quote unquote soul, but, what is soul? Who knows? I mean, I think we know a lot, but I think there's still things we don't know. And probably when Plato was saying soul, I would probably say more like linga or energy body. The energy body is structured the same way as the universe, or like maybe some outer layer of the energy body. So, just a guess. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, so I think next I'm gonna try and get to Venus, because Sun is connected to Mercury and Venus. I've already astral projected on a few occasions to Venus, but it was difficult, and I felt like psychically tired afterwards. Not super psychically tired, but I understood it cost me something to go visit. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Also, I'm gonna have to look at the ephemeris more, because I think the ephemeris really affects these experiences. Like, probably Mercury was in some significant house, it was significant in my own personal astrology, in my own birth chart, for its position, activating some various patterns. Like, I don't know, maybe it was over Ketu or something. I don't know. This sort of practical ephemeris astrology is something I haven't understood yet, so. But I feel like it's something I should get into soon enough. So, yeah, I don't know, in next year or two. Yeah, I'm gonna go zodiacal energies and deities, and get basically comfortable with the zodiacal energies as I have been getting with the planets. And then I'm gonna expand, and I'm gonna tie it all together with ephemeris.